Welcome, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.6. Okay, let's continue this. Oh, one thing I need to do. I'm doing a bunch of reorganizing type stuff as I do between different episodes. Yes, another big cost plus supply. The railroad's going. What do we want there now? How is our... Yeah, so as you can see here, I see efficiency for production is up by 0.2%, and supply throughput is up by 0.2%. Again, not much, but still. Cumulative with everything else seems to work. I think we got bombed again, and we may have lost one of the ships that was just marginally there. Okay, we've won the Battle of Port Elizabeth. Hopefully here we can win a bit better. Bloemfontein. Well, now you stop because they're no longer really attacking us. Okay. As soon as we get across that river, or they can get in there, that'll be the quickest. Now that should really put us into victory here. I know I keep saying that, but I keep hoping it's true. Hey, the Afrikaners want to join us, don't they? Attack across this river is being a bit difficult. Okay, small navigation radar. Help our fighter types. Yeah, let's push ahead with that. We need some more advantages for our air capabilities. Okay, you guys come in here. We have lots of air power moving around. Hopefully that'll deal with anything too significant. Or help at least. We're doing out here in India. Okay, well, we do attack there. You strike at that just to mess with them. Cross that river, you keep moving to there. We move there to cut them off. Come up to there. You're gonna change directions. Go after the garrison division. Sounds good. Oh good, we got another big. Still no HQs here. Okay, now there's an HQ. Get on board. We'll do some reorganizing once they get over to India. Yeah, looks like you're all right there, but We don't need the Hungarians or the Italian HQ so much. Well, they already have units over there. Okay, so you get on board. Well, I don't really quite honestly know how many more units we need over here because we just got all those. Let's get... Well, we can supply them. Might as well send them. What kind of division is that? Well, what I'm looking for is like a good, some mechanized. Okay, they should move fast. Cross some of the rugged terrain. Just to one degree or another, we're sort of just racing across India at this point. A lot of good units, most assuredly, a lot of good units. Dugs. Okay, well, we're already filled up. Okay, well. Go over to Karachi as well. Now, let's look at the terrain map here. Yeah, you come up this way, get ready to go fight in those mountains. Often Nepal and Bhutan are difficult. Battles just because they're so mountainous. Okay, we've enforced conquer on South Africa. That's what I've been waiting for. Okay, well, we'd still have this. Get that, but let's see if this has changed Portugal's mind about the possibility of joining us. Invite to faction. Impossible, it says. Hope we can get Spain once. Support that attack on those guys. And naval, oh good, that will increase our range of operation considerably. Let's do this. And a few, okay, these guys are partially organized. I just didn't want them. Too badly as they come there. So I figured that would happen. But they won't be intercepted too much. You have some fighter escorts, okay. There we go. Well, let's move them. It's big enough. Yeah, move in here. I want them to operate out in here as much as I can. We'll see if they attack. Anybody gets, nope, they got there unscathed, it looks like. Okay, and I stuck Strasbourg. Okay, these guys here. I know this is super overfilled now, or yeah, with other units from our puppets. Hopefully they'll rebase out of there, because most of those units aren't very effective out there. Once I know they're trying to help and all that, and that's good. Come on to the, okay, rebase, there we go. I want this. Yes. Okay. How is our situation with Spain? We just lost one contract. Maybe they want supplies. They're just like 0.43 away from. Crude oil, maybe? Can we sell you one crude oil? Okay, I guess not. Okay, finally. Okay, so actually, let's send you over to here. That's what I want to do is, and it's too far away, that's why we're going to move them. And the only others are too far away too. Well, that's actually maybe, no. Let's move you. Get you to, or is it already fully taken up? The well, first army. Let's von Hippel, I think, is going to get his day in the sun. Okay. Attach you to the Indish group there. I want to rename you the. Let's do this. There we go. No, yeah, okay. So then we're going to go detach and attach. Detach and attach. And again, we're reorganizing. Okay, now. Hope this is all fun for you. Okay, I think all his stuff is there, so we're going to leave his stuff attached. His divisions. But his are spread out everywhere back up to there, so if we can, temporarily at least we'll. Yeah, definitely. Basically everything. There probably isn't everything, but I just don't know it right offhand. If they show back up in India, fine. We'll reattach somebody. Yep, you never made it very far. We just didn't need that much stuff going into. Okay, detach, attach. Why is that outside of command range? Oh, he's just that far away from down here. Okay, well, then what we need to do is move you that way anyways, okay. Well, I'm just gonna have to wait for another episode to do some of this stuff. Just gonna take too long. Okay, well, you guys move so your time clock goes down a little better. And you're gonna move, okay. These take a long time to get across those rivers. Do that there, river cross. Oh, weather is as much as anything else. August in the desert, maybe, I guess, I don't know. Okay, you're fighting a somewhat realist opponent, so you're gonna stop and defend. Oh. You come that way, we'll have police take care of some of these other mop-ups. I want to increase this. We'll see how well the police hold out in the mountains. Since these guys are here, let's come up around and threaten their rear this way. Wait a minute, where, okay, we don't have any supply. Oh, that's why Bombay, the units are stopped because they don't have supplies. Now Bombay is considered the primary supply port. So the AI is not moving supplies because it had been over here. This batch. Big fleet is in right here. Okay. They're getting organized up. So let's see, we want to do the Lutzow and Bismarck. We're going to create not quite a big ultimate fleet, but a fairly biggish one. More balanced for everything but carriers. Because we have the Tirpitz and the Bismarck, those are first class battleships, specialty ones, but yes. And then we have the Lutzow, the Friedrich Karl, and the Rune. Heavy cruisers supporting those, because those are, yeah, not quite really. I mean, obviously they're not battleships, but they're real capital ships there. And then we got the light cruisers, which aren't considered capital ships, lots of those, and then some destroyer squadrons. That's why the destroyers are more expensive to build, because they're still, and I don't know how it is in, and there's been some talk back and forth, but how it is in 9 now. Excuse me. I haven't played it. Whether these are still considered squadrons or individual ships, because obviously they'd be cheaper, but so we've got those. That's good. Now, I'm a little worried about sending more units into here because just the lack of supplies. We're already stealing supplies from here and flying them into various places here. Okay, well, okay, you come here, you see how long you can hold out. You start following along. You as well. Hopefully the armor will get there first. Okay, that looks like it's doing okay-ish. I don't know if they'll get across that river or not, but that's sort of the turning point there. Now, oh, we get the long range subs, good. Let's see if we can get out here and convoy raid passively. Well, oh, undo. Oh, these, that's right, these guys are also supposed to join up with that. Oh, not this one. Oh, yeah, that is the Bismarck. Okay, just a few more. Oh, he needs a higher command rank. So we'll promote you. Oh, you've maxed out. Okay. Well, we don't need those last two. Now let's remove 2 of those. Transport units are sort of hanged up a bit. There we go. Now that's sort of the reason why I'm only gonna stick in. No. There we go. There we load up. Okay, now I don't think we could invade there. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to come out here again. Let's head out to sea here. Move order passively, just get messed up, go back home. Have these guys been able to organize themselves? Not really, but now they're going to be operating way out there at sea, even with some fighter coverage. These guys are going to be out here. Also with some fighter coverage. these guys here. This part of the gap. There we go. Hopefully the AI's moved this. Now let's pick up your extra. No, they have not moved. There's still 27 units, oh well. Oop, lots of events. Okay, we're back down to high popularity. Probably bombing or something. Commando training has advanced. It's okay, 36. Yeah, we're gonna let that go. Okay, the SS Jaeger Battalion 502 raid on Lyric. The SS Jaeger was Nazi Germany's main special forces unit from 43 to 44. It conducted several operations against the Allies and the Soviets. That is a picture of Otto Skorzeny, an Austrian SS officer, commando, famous for the rescue of Mussolini. That's another SS guy, don't know who. Okay, launched the operation. Okay, one of two operations. No effect, or 90% will get placed in the production queue. We'll get raid on Lyric event. Lose naval base level 1 in Lyric. Wherever Lyric is. That sounds like it's Ireland. British did occupy a couple of these ports, Irish ports, during the war. I don't know where that is, but okay, well, hopefully that's a good thing, but I do sort of want this commando battalion. Okay, first ski Jager Brigade, an infantry unit trained to use skis for movement during winter. It was created on the Eastern Front in the autumn 43 in preparations for the upcoming winter operations. Yeah, we'll take that. Supplies manpower. You don't have to operate them in winter or in northern climates. They're just really sort of really kick-ass mountain troops, basically, is what they are. And yes, I think they do have other special bonuses for the winter, but you can use them wherever. Allied bombing of Hamburg during World War II included numerous strategic bombing missions, diversion nuisance raids as a large port and industrial center. Excuse me, Hamburg's shipyards, U-boat pens, and Hamburg Harbor. Okay. Area oil refineries were attacked throughout the war. The attack during the last week of July 1943 Operation Gomorrah created one of the largest firestorms raised by the Royal Air Force in the United States Army Air Forces in World War II, killing 42,600 civilians and wounded 37,000 more in Hamburg, and virtually destroyed most of the city. An early form of chaff, code-named Window, was successfully used the first time by the RAF. Clouds of tinfoil strips dropped by pathfinders as well as the initial bomber stream in order to completely cloud German radar. Now, if you don't know about the firestorms, definitely, and I'm not saying they didn't, definitely they killed by fire. But that may not be how most of the people died in a firestorm. and obviously, you know, they were also dropping bombs too. But what would happen is that even if you were in a sheltered place, unless it was a really good overpressure sort of shelter, that, you know, somehow you're sealed up and there's more pressure inside. Unless you're doing that, a lot of people died, I am sure, in what were otherwise bomb shelters, because the firestorm, just the way it's raging through that city, it's almost creating like tornado effects, and it's just sucking all the air out of everywhere that it's going, and just even be around and near it. Obviously, if you're out of doors and, I don't know, you 40, 50 feet away from the flames or something, you still have got air to breathe. But once you're sort of lower, below, down, when it's raging in buildings above you, but if you're sort of in the basement, and if it would just be a normal fire and burn the building down, potentially, depending on the situation, but potentially, you could be all right in there. But because it's not just this one building, it's all the buildings around it, and it's just engulfing and sucking out all of the oxygen for a while, long enough that a lot of people just died of asphyxiation without, we're going to lose a lot, with, just being unable to breathe. So that is a, major way a lot of people died. And so they would definitely be opening up bomb shelters and whatnot afterwards and finding just dead people in there with no burn marks. Other times, after, it was just for a while, it sucked all the oxygen out or whatever, but then the fires keep burning, and then, yes, it would burn the bodies as well, too. It just depends on where and what the condition is, but that's sort of the horror of the firestorms. Okay, so we have basically we'll gain 2 in descent. We'll get heavy bombing raid until October 43. So just about a month there. Hurts national unity, and we will lose 3 industrial capacity in Hamburg. Manpower and some leadership in Hamburg. Okay, reaction to Operation Gomorrah, and I believe that is in Sodom and Gomorrah is where the biblical reference is doing something. Okay, Operation Gomorrah killed, we've already read the number of people. I would read it again, it's important to know, but we already read it. And caused some million German civilians to flee the city. The city's labor force was reduced by 10%. Approximately 30,000 aircraft were deployed, 9,000 tons of bombs were dropped, and over 250,000 homes and houses were destroyed. No subsequent city raid shook Germany as did that of Hamburg. Documents show that Germans officially were thoroughly alarmed, and there was some indication from later Allied interrogations of Nazi officials that Hitler stated that further raids similar weight would force Germany out of the war. The industrial losses were severe. Hamburg never recovered to full production, only doing so in essential armaments industries in which maximum effort was made. Figures were given by German sources indicated that 183 large factories were destroyed out of 524 in the city, and 1,800 smaller factories out of 9,068 were destroyed. Other losses included damage to or destruction of 580 industrial concerns and armaments works, 299 of which were important enough to be listed by name. Local transport systems were completely disrupted. It did not return to normal for some time. Dwellings destroyed amounted to 214,000 out of 414,000. Hamburg was hit by air raids and another 69 times before the end of the war. In total, the RAF dropped 22,890 long tons of bombs on Hamburg. The terrifying raids against Hamburg further increase the proportion of German war economy spent on anti-air artillery, fighter production, and civil defense measures such as artificial fog barriers. Oh yeah, that's one thing that they did also try to do. I don't know if they were all fog or just like smoke screen kind of things that they would, once they sort of figured out where an attack was going to be, they would put that up for, particularly for the daylight bombers, so that the American precision bombing wouldn't do well. Okay, so we can invest more in air defenses, get air defense network, radar gain, home front, heavy guns, or not. Let's look at air defense network here for a moment. Okay, we have already a little bit there. Radar home front focus gain. A bunch there already, okay. The main reason I stopped doing this before was the manpower hit, but we're doing okay with manpower. Worrying about, of course, the Soviet and heavy AA gains. Yeah, we'll probably be back under artillery. Yeah, 45. Yeah, not much there, but okay, we'll do that. It's going to be a bit costly, but we can afford it. Not that costly, but okay, good. Now, did any of those trip over? No. This is the one I was thinking it might. And this one maybe. Nope, but nearly there, so we'll leave this one going. Yeah, it shouldn't be repeating. Okay, well also, since, let's see, we have lost, before we get into these things, it appears you heard that, even though I'm not streaming, but I do have my software up, recording. That little buzz sound is somebody, and thank you whoever, I wasn't watching, has just followed me on Twitch, which is really nice. So thank you for that, whoever it may be. And again, I want to promote up Twitch. We'll be doing, trying to do every Saturday a live stream. Morning my time in California, late afternoon in Europe, depending on where you are. I know some of, like, my good friend Mikhail is all the way east in Sochi on the Black Sea, or you get like Django in Britain, so those are obviously multiple time zones. I don't know exactly how many between there, so it varies. We're going to rebuild this, and part of the reason is just, they destroyed it, so we're going to rebuild it. But part of the reason is also this heavy industry capacity here, in that where you have a heavy industry, this is a multiplier effect to these, so that's where you want to do that. So we're going to come here, and we're going to come down here. See, we're building a bunch more radars. They're mildly cheap, and until just recently we've had a fair amount of ICs, but being hit by various effects, as you can see here. Now the early wars, the seaports, 8%, 3%, 4% heavy bombings. Now that we're getting 5% hit to that. The small fleet build aircraft are almost nothing, but still. Add up Balkan campaign preparation, 2.5%. Shipbuilding, building shipyards, 2.5. Norway preparations, so that, you know, obviously some like Give 'em Cake is from the beginning in the SS units, so those aren't going to go away, but yeah. So that does have an effect. And so now we have Scorzini's battalion coming through. And we're going to be building some industrial capacities. Part of the reason, I could be building more. I mean, my God, I could be building a lot more industrial IC. But we've got a lot. I mean, oh yeah, sure, of course, I could use more ships, I could use more whatever. But to a point, my limiting factor is manpower now. And I've got a lot of units that, not that I don't know what to do with them, I sort of kind of do. What is that? It's just, okay, the one infantry battalion there. I think I looked at that before. You know, we can invade Britain and the US and whatever else, but other than that, I don't really know what to do with them at the moment. Whether I should send them all west to get ready for Britain. Now, this is another thing, and as you know, I've talked in earlier episodes, I am waiting for a D-Day invasion because I want to see how it works with the current setup. So, I'm waiting for that to happen, but it would behoove you, if you didn't want to have this heavy bombing thing, I think it requires the Allies to be in Britain for that bombing effect. So that would be a reason to, obviously, to have invaded Britain by this point. Okay, the 716th Infantry Division was formed May 41 and was transferred to France in June 41, where it served occupation, security, coastal defense, air raid protection duties, facing the brunt of the Allied invasion of Normandy on June 6th. The division was largely destroyed before Cannes while defending Gold, June Sword, and Omaha beaches, transferred to Perpignan for refitting. In July 44, the division suffered further losses in the retreat from southern France after heavy fighting in the High Vosges. In late 44, it was withdrew to Gomorrah pocket. Okay, yep, we'll take that. And 266th Infantry Division was formed in May 43 at Truppen's Übungsplatz, Münsingen. Getting a little better maybe with that one. It was captured in Brittany in August 44 while attempting to relieve the forces in Festung Brest. Yes. They set up out here a sort of a fortress going on for a while. And I guess this was one of the divisions they sent to try to relieve it, and it got captured, whatever there. And it's probably sent by some stupid official somewhere else. Oh, go relieve this fortress, and it's you know, garrison kind of division, and facing the Allies, and so probably just sort of like, okay, we could maybe do okay defending some place, but you're sending us to go in and attack against a mobile enemy, and yeah, captured. Okay, you know, yeah, you know, your headquarters or something, you know. Okay, the 265th Infantry Division was also formed in the same, Truppensplatz Bergen in France. It was destroyed in Normandy. Okay, prepare our defenses. Yes, we're eating away at 600. Allow Rad W Luftwaffen Einsatz. Okay, the Rad W is the woman's Rad. During the strategic air campaign against the Reich, the Rad W wartime role was enlarged up to 13,000 females were serving in the air raid warning services and air communication services. Gradually, the Rad W members took over more responsibility for radar work. They were employed with great success in the Jager Leitstellen fighter direction stations of the air defense network. From spring 44, the Rad W was involved in servicing flak batteries. By the end of the war, the flak branch of the Rad W rose to 25,000. And so now this, again, we've had, and we're going to see maybe some other stuff here, other Rad events, and That's, I know many of you know the Reich Arbeitsdienst, or the National Labor Service, basically. And this was sort of the, after you're out of the Hitler Youth, even for girls, after you're out of the Hitler Youth, initially the RAD for women was just purely a volunteer program. But before you're drafted for men, you went into the RAD. Now, of course, as the war is going on, more and more men are going in younger and younger to the armed services, because you get down to, like they talk about a lot of the Hitler Jugend guys in, in Hitler Jugend, here, were, 15, 16 years old. Now, they sort of did make sure that they were, for this division, shall we say, because this was to be an elite SS division, well-developed young men, not too underdeveloped or whatever, that young men that might be pressed into other division services. So, but even late in the war, there was still, I know there's photographic evidence of a lot of men still in the RAD, still doing different types of services because they needed them for kind of stuff. But more and more, whether it's volunteers or conscripted, going into the army, younger and younger, so that is happening. And obviously here this is getting in the women now as a more direct role, where before, shall we say, someone like my RAD women's events were more women in the RAD doing domestic RAD male type roles, in the idea of sort of like the Women's Land Service in Britain, women from the countryside, women from the city, going out to the country and being farmers, working generally with the old farmer dudes that were knowing how to farm well, but way too old to be in the service. They're sort of running the farms, but they need the labor, the young guys that normally really did all the work. And my guess is it took maybe at least, or a woman was only worth, or a third, 2/3 of a guy or something, shall we say, like 3 women would equal 1 man, just because of the upper body strength and some of the lifting and moving. You just got to cooperate a bit more for women to do it. This is women, there's women a lot stronger than I am, trust me, but men and women aren't the same. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have equal rights before the law, but they're not the same. And so you get into areas like, fire department. I want all of my fire, and women should be allowed to be in the fire department. They can be good fire persons, but they've got to be able to pass the same physical fitness levels as the men do. Because if a man and a woman are upstairs putting out a fire and the beam or something knocks down and knocks the guy unconscious, the woman has to be able to pick up and drag that guy out of the fire, just as another guy would drag another guy out of the fire. So long as they meet the standards, great. But if they don't meet the physical standards, we don't just have them just to have them. Now, but this is what we're looking at here is what I was looking at with my events, and there's a few, is women going to work on the farms, expanding food production by increasing the farm sizes and taking wasteland and turning it into serviceable farmland and that kind of stuff. This is I believe this is by Revolver held, a more direct role of women getting into the fire, to the fight. So this is not, in my view, not a double hit, 2 events doing the same thing, as in there should only be one. This is just continuing to expand the roles. So just my explanation of so good. Okay. Reorganize the Flugmeld, or Flugmelddienst service. Okay, yeah. See, service. See, I got Dienst with that. Maybe subconsciously seeing the word service down there, but I did sort of get Dienst That's how I'm pronouncing it. Probably mispronouncing it slightly. But learning a little bit. Aircraft Reporting Services was established in early 1932 and transferred to the Luftwaffe in 1939. Unlike the British Royal Observer Corps, observation posts did not use a pointing or altitude assessment instrument to provide track information. Reports indicated the number of aircraft, the direction of flight on the clock code, and the height as low, medium, or high. Information gathered by Aircraft Reporting Services flowed to the command post of fighter units, the anti-aircraft artillery air bases, air raid protection, and the railway warning services. By 1943, heavy air raids identified needs for procedural and organizational changes. Existing message system resulted in each aircraft reporting being written down at least 3 times in the transmission process, and required delivery of these written messages to the plotters. To increase the rapidity of reporting, observers were equipped with headphone, telephone instrument sets, and connected directly to the regional air reporting HQs. The conversion was officially complete on August 28, 1943. Operational reports were now passed in 1 minute, and the reporting to multiple flitter centers helped eliminate duplicate track reportings. In addition, reporting direct to plotters eliminated the possibility of old reports superseding new ones. That makes sense, because if you got a report that they're coming over X town, and then you got a later or also a report coming in from Y town, but you could report that as two groups, or when it's really only one. Yeah, I could see that. The fighter units had a separate ground control intercept organization, which was merged with the Aircraft Reporting Service in April 1944. This merger was not smooth. Integration was not complete until the winter of 44-45. Yeah, no point. I can see not trying to complete something, but by 44, it's, you know, I've sort of, that Sabaton song about I forget the name of it, about the Germans that were fighting the Soviets desperately, maybe along the Elbe or somewhere, I think it was, fighting to keep a pocket open, while the Americans on the other side were sitting there watching the Germans fight the Soviets, because the Germans, as they were, a lot of civilians were coming across the river to escape the Soviets. And the Americans weren't helping the Soviets by firing at the Germans, the other side of the river. But as soon as any of the soldiers came to the other side, to their side of the river, we're turning over our guns and surrendering. So, I understand resisting the Soviets as long as possible, to move as much west as well as to allow the Allies to come in. But the Germans should have just been given up and just let the Allies just plunge across Germany. Would have been a much better result. Okay, we could do this. Cost us some supplies. We'll get a little bit more manpower. I guess more efficiency. So less people needed, and air defense network grain. Okay, we'll do that. We can afford that. And no, we don't need this. And no, we don't need that. No, the boats wouldn't be useful, but. Uh-oh, the monthly outbreak of herbs. We've won. We haven't won yet. But we also need to look at all those new divisions that came in. Those defensive ones. No, not the. Okay. Yeah, that's there. That's out there now. Jager Brigade. No, I don't know if that was put in by the OOB or not, but I'm not going with fun without a real picture, even though he is a mountain group, but maybe he was meant to be there. My next playthrough with and yeah, right now I guess I don't know whether it's formal announcement time or just realization that it's interesting me enough that I do want to make another playthrough after this one with particularly with Revolver Held's well, he's a snow kind of guy. Well, we'll give that to him. He's a cold winter specialist, and you're in Germany or in Berlin. Ski Jaegers, nice emblem, like that. Thinking we're going to be using them up here. So let's move them to Kiel. I don't know. A while before we use them, but now here, yes, okay. Main thing I want to do is now, while the time is good, put some generals in charge of these divisions. So like I was saying, Revolver Held's sounds really nice. His events that he's developing to fight me or whoever, I mean not just me, but fight the German player better at this time. And this time of the war really interests me. So if there's enough viewers, we will definitely make it and put it up there. If viewership again, you know, goes down, I hope it doesn't, but but it's not coming anytime soon. I'm not saying like because hey, from following stuff still needs work, and I'm thinking, hey, you know, a month, maybe 2 months. That's 60 episodes away. So this is still going plenty of time. So that isn't going away. You know, this is, I mean, you know, this isn't going away anytime soon. So it's not like we're not going to get to America. But I don't know if we are going to get to America. It's that kind of thing. You know, and defeat it. 7-Eleven. If you don't know, probably so many people get American culture now because of our television, but we have a long-term chain here in America, sometimes with gas pumps, but often just stores that are sort of quickie food stores, but not specifically liquor stores, that are, you know, sort of, and I don't mean like fast food as in like McDonald's, but as in by well, they do have, you can heat things up in a microwave kind of thing. They're, you know, like a burrito, or they have hot dogs and things. But it's sort of a, you know, some people call them stop and robs, but they're sort of little mini convenience stores. A chain called 7-Eleven is because they were originally open from 7 in the morning to 11 at night was the idea, and so it was, their hours was in their title. So, you know, 7-Eleven. Infantry Division was formed May 41, was transferred to France in June 41, where it served on occupation, security, and coastal defense duties. After suffering heavy losses in Normandy, it was refitted in the Netherlands, south of Rotterdam, transferred to Hungary in December 44. Division fought on the Eastern Front for the rest of the war. It surrendered to the Red Army. Okay. Yep. And the 709th Infantry Division, 15th Wella, is largely destroyed defending Utah Beach. Okay. Okay, scale down civilian production. No, I didn't analyze who was in that other photo with Speer, did I? The other photo was Speer for that, what to do about Hamburg and the thing. It was Speer there. There was Melch, And I think maybe that was Ferdinand Porsche or somebody like that, the guy in the civilian clothes, or somebody else. I don't know right offhand. Okay. The proportion of military spending in the German economy began growing rapidly after 1942, as the Nazi government was forced to dedicate more and more of the country's economic resources to fight a losing war. The civilian factories were converted to military use and placed under military administration. From mid-43 on, Germany switched to full-scale war economy overseen by Albert Speer. By late 44, almost the entire German economy was dedicated to military production. As a result, a dramatic rise in military production with an increase by 2 or 3 times of vital goods like tanks and aircraft, despite the intensifying Allied air campaign and the loss of territory and factories. Restaurants and other services were closed to focus on German economy on military needs. The increase in production was insufficient to match the Allies in any category of production, and some production was moved underground in an attempt to put it out of the reach of the Allied bombers. Okay, so we can get concentrated war effort, rare materials, supplies, or all as well. I'm going to go with all as well, because all is well. I mean, it just national manpower modifiers, I'm still not terribly worried. We keep getting little bonuses, but there may be other effects. I don't know. Supplies plus more supplies. That's just because of the wacky supply system. I don't think this would affect it. Again, that Speer there, that is somebody from the NSKK, because that's I'm pretty sure an NSKK Eagle. It's sort of hard to tell. That may be the guy who I was thinking was Porsche. I don't know. Seems like I should realize who that is, but I don't. And that looks sort of like Colonel Klink in a business suit, but don't know who he is. There's a film camera guy there, so whatever meeting this is, it's important enough that they were filming it. And trust me, whatever sort of, Speer went around and dealt with a lot of stuff. And did a lot of talks. A lot of, he got a lot of pushback from the Gauleiters. I wish we had a good, well, we maybe sort of do, don't we? Yeah. This is probably nowhere really accurate to the Gaus, but because actually all this around here was one Gau. The Sudetens, German, was one Gau. The Gauleiters controlled their Gaus. Some were Altkameraden, old comrades of Adolf Hitler. Others were hooked into other different factions within Nazi Germany, and they wanted to protect their power bases. A fair number of them were corrupt. Some of them weren't. Some of them were, and I don't necessarily have any good examples, but were like idealistic crusaders for National Socialism. So they really weren't corrupt, but they were, in my view, evil men, but they weren't like Goering trying to do a rake off of 5% of all the money coming in or anything. But then there were those guys too. But it built in a lot of inefficiencies in the system. And when Speer was trying to rationalize some of the production and production efficiency, stopping duplicate productions in different places, and get everything organized, he was constantly being fought by the Gauleiters, because whatever Speer was doing was disrupting the control that they had on their Gau. Even if it ultimately would benefit things, it still shut down a shoe factory. No, we need to keep that shoe factory going. Of course, the shoe factory is already making boots, but no, we don't want to shut that down, or whatever it might be. In my area, protect the local jobs, protect the local whatever. So he was constantly, I could imagine, at different sort of meeting different production boards locally, with so again, I don't see an SA gal guy here. That's like I say, NSKK. So the NSKK is the transport, the trucks. So that's somebody from, you know, transport there with him. And so a lot of these things, but probably very few, small percentage of them were actually filmed. This one was at a filmed location. So we're going to go now, and no, we don't need another HQ. And we now have, what is it, 2 more divisions, fortress divisions. Thank you, Revolver Held. Yeah, we'll put him there. These are in places that are more and more likely to be defending against a scripted allied attack. So I want a slightly better defensive commander. At some point I will come in and I will attach those to some headquarters and things off the chain, which will make them better. But I know we won't be doing a scripted invasion until the Division Sicilian is ready for its debut. Scripted invasion until mid-44, so we have some time. Now, let's see how we're doing with Spain. Are they going to say... Well, they're very likely. Now, we're going to decline this just for a moment because I want to see what Portugal still says. Invite to faction. Impossible. Okay. So let's try Spain. Invite to faction. Very likely accept. Okay, so now we have Spain. They've been stacking up. A few people made comments about seeing huge stacks of units here, as well as seeing a bunch of stuff along here. But now I'm going to keep these guys as neutral because, well, we already own Gibraltar. Well, I might be able to race out of. Okay, these we can't even go here. Well, or go here. I guess we can go here, but so we can't attack out of here. And attacking out of Rio Muni here. Well, I think we could walk across here, but we're coming down this. Well, I don't know what we'll do. That's going to be a while. Let's see if we can go here. Yes. Okay. Go across the Spanish territory. And so I don't need them to take this territory, and I would rather own whatever oil is here, so I don't want them in the war for that reason. Now here, I've noticed these guys up here, these 2 units, but this has... Oh, wait a minute, there's a land connection there. Ooh, they should... Never mind, you guys, stop going down here. You guys go up here and attack those Frenchmen up here. But, so yeah, I'd rather have the oil there. So I don't need Spain in the Axis now. It'll be interesting what Revolver Held scripts, because he has stated that he has and showed examples even of you know, events that would have invasions happening in Spain and Portugal if they're in the Axis, but I don't know if that means if they're in the war, you know, at war, or just in the Axis. That would be an interesting thing to know, and we'll find out. I don't necessarily want to know in advance. Now it's very likely. Okay, so let's just decline this. Okay, so they no longer have an alliance with Spain, because Spain, I guess, was the main partner in that alliance to, you know, Iberian Peninsula, and they did have a defense agreement during the war. That is historical. So now that that is basically broken, they're no longer relying upon Spain to defend them, and we now have Portugal as well. And so it'll be interesting when we play this again to see if the Americans feel they need to scripted wise come in on a neutral Spain and or Portugal that is in the Axis while the Axis is at war or not. But like as I was saying, what we can do here is, instead of having these guys fly from here out here, we can move them out to here. That already has 8. That has 3. We'll barge our way in here. And so that we can fly out of here at shorter ranges. Did they ever readjust the numbers here? Yeah, okay, now we're down to just 42, but we see 23. Disrupting our abilities a little bit. And so, yeah, so I don't see a good... I don't see them, you know, invading England or something, unfortunately, on their own, and any colonies that they... look at this, guys. French battleship Paris, the Brigantine, the battlecruiser Dunkirk, the Duquois, and the Algiers, and then De Grey Torin is being bombed. Oh, here, okay. And we also got this 2 great effects here, because for Gibraltar to get the effect, you have to have Gibraltar and Tenerife or whatever here in the axis. So supplies up 5%, supply consumption down by 5%. I presume it just means easier shipping and transport. And also here, which is even more, control of the Mediterranean, which may have been one of these, but definitely one of these islands here. Get in 5% on supplies, 5% on money. Apply throughput, meaning shipping gets all around the Mediterranean, because we basically own everywhere in the Mediterranean. Obviously, an Axis force does. So that supply throughput and resources 5%. Again, they're just figuring the idea that whether it's stuff coming up through the Red Sea but then crossing the Mediterranean, or you know, there's rare materials out here. I don't know how well some of them are logged, but I remember reading there was some sort of nitrates or something, I forget what, that was mined out of Morocco before the war. That was very useful for like explosive productions, or I don't know what, but it was very useful in a war industry. And so some of it did trickle into Germany when it was under Vichy French control, but not so much. But now with, you know, no opposition, it's not just how much can you dig out of, and again, I don't see rare materials out here, but there should be some, just because I know about that. And there was a significant open pit mine out here somewhere. So much so that it meant something, but never mind. But just, not just how much can you dig here, but it's also how much can you get back to industrial centers for Germany and possibly Italy and other places too. So great. That 5% in resources will help. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. That'll be good. Okay. Inferior sections for northwestern France, presumably out here. So we're going to again go with the medium defensive arrangements. Yep. Because this is a potential, like I say, I really think historically, I've read one time in my life all I could get on historical fiction, again, and I think I've mentioned this a bit before. My opinion, there's good and bad historical fiction outside of the quality of writing by the author. Okay, the good historical fiction has and it's a good way to learn, in my opinion, about history, if it's good historical fiction. The history in it is really solid, and the descriptions of the historical personages are really solid, meaning the author has read more than just a brief paragraph or two on some describing some historical character. He's read a biography on not just on a historical, but on all the historical figures moving around and who sort of talk and speak in the book. And so I read a bunch. Got sort of started with Horatio Hornblower series, and read a bunch of other series written by different authors, including one that's still currently live and writing. So a lot of the stuff from the why am I blanking on this? The Aubrey and Martin Master and Commander movie. The author, he died. Dudley Pope has died some years ago. Now, Dudley Pope, he was a merchant seaman during World War II. So to give you roughly his age, wrote a lot of stuff after World War II. The Hornblower stuff was started to be written during World War II by C.S. Forrester. So that's while he was in, I believe, California to support himself. He was writing it. So a lot of the stuff, and you know, so like I say, good. Alexander Kent, who also writes under a different name, or who has a different name and writes under his other name too. I stopped reading his books because after a while, he was making up whole colonial islands in the Pacific or in the Caribbean that had that not just some little island, but had an island with a colonial governor and garrisons and troops, making that up entirely. And so even though it was pretty exciting reading, that just to me said, nope, I'm not reading another word by him on that, because it is not good historical fiction. It's just his fiction set in the past. But Alexander Kent, and again I'm blanking right now on his other name, I'm trying to look, see if I have any of his other books, also writes a bunch of stuff set in World War II. And that stuff, naval, small boats and other things, that stuff I think he does really well, because I think he knows World War II, and there's plenty of stories to write about in World War II. And so often the historical fiction will maybe add, the old sailing stuff will add a single ship and a crew that's fictitious to a major naval battle, and be able to have them move around to different campaigns and have a story plotline. But all the rest of history is more or less correct, in not just in the big strokes, but in sort of the smaller ones and telling of the battle. Some really good stuff. Dewey Lambden does really well also with telling real historical battles really well, and just adding a few characters, maybe a single ship into the Battle of Trafalgar or something. Otherwise everything else is there. And so if you get good historical World War II fiction that tells some of those stories well, those are good. And it's a good way to learn not just history, but when it's written really well, and like Dewey Lambden does a very good job of trying to write in the views and the way of the people of the time around what's going on, and not in a modern sense, because I know Dewey Lambden got a lot of being criticized. I don't know a lot, but some for some of the anti-gay for being anti-gay, and his response was, "Well, I'm not. This is just the views and the opinions of the people at the time towards gay men." And so, within the Royal Navy, and particularly in officers, because the men often got up to what they got up to, but some of the officers and how they were shunned and all this stuff. And so he really lays it on heavy against them in the manner of the people at the time. Not what he thinks today, but he's writing as the time period, and not trying to redo history as we would like it to be, but writing history and the views of the people. And this is what you often don't get on a lot of history, is the the views this way that are put and talked about and thought about when you read just regular history. And these good guys read letters written in the time period just between, like, an officer writing home to get people's opinions, but that officer, you may never show up in the book, but you just know, oh, well, this was what the officers thought about X battle or about X captain or what was going on. And like I say, and so from some of that, it just, this and some photos, this out here seemed really rocky, really hard to get at, that I don't think would be that suitable, and a lot of Atlantic pounds into here. It's just like a lot of this parts of Cornwall outside of just a few beaches out here, and even there, I wouldn't say it was all that friendly to a naval invasion. So some of this would maybe be unnecessary, but since we can't make certain coasts easier and harder to invade, they're doing what they should. Okay, Schwer Panzerabteilung 507 was formed September 43 around the cadre of the 13th Panzer Division. It arrived at the front in March 44 and fought the Red Army at Wietbeck and Narev. It was refitted with Tiger 2s tanks in February 45 and surrendered to the Red Army at the end of the war after a failed attempt to reach the American troops. Okay. You want to form it. Okay. One interesting thing, and I posted this this over on the Black Ice Forum for Hearts of Iron 4. It was an interesting chart that showed production costs for different tank types in the German army, or German tank production, and the cost of also in another chart, a couple of the German tank types, as well as a lot of pre-war, basically, tank types, like the R-35 for the French, the the TP7 or whatever the Polish tank was, and some of the other models that relative type. But they had, and I'm not sure how correct this is, but it seems like good information. The cost of the King Tiger was, I think, like 2.5 times more than a Tiger tank. And my God, if it costs that much more, it ain't worth building them, people. It just not when you're being overwhelmed. And if because yes, the armor is better on a King Tiger, a Tiger 2, but it's not that much better. And on the sides, the flanks, it's very penetrable. And yes, it has a better 88mm gun. And you are starting to face against Joseph Stalin IIs in that at the very late stages of the war. But you could continue to make pseudo Oliphants here for Oliphants. The Oliphants, if you don't know, were the abortive. They made Porsche made a version of the whole for the Tiger 2. Tiger 1. It was rejected. They already had a bunch made. They then just stuck a big, armored, huge, heavy armored box on top of it and put on the newer, heavier, or heavier punching 88mm gun on that. You could easily do a different setup than the Oliphant, but you could do that to this, sort of make a Jag Tiger 1 kind of, if you will, a little bit more, if you needed to penetrate that, and that would be actually cheaper probably than a regular Tiger, so you can make more of them. So yeah, we'll take this. Okay, we're going to take this opportunity to end the episode here. I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. I really do appreciate that. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel to get more great videos. And of course, I dearly want to hear from you. Tell me your suggestions, your ideas, your comments, your whatever. How's your day going? I don't know. Whatever it might be. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.